ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike on WQCN and Choice 105.3. This is my home. This is the place for gospel music and uplifting information right here. So you've heard the program. We'd like to thank Jordan, Needle Eye Ministries for coming on. It's all part of the Mike English Radio Network. And what that means, we talk to people who believe business can help society be better. And we're on the Choice every day from 2 to 3, me and my partners. Right now we've had a friend of the program. You know, people show up in our world, and if you don't think social media works, it does work. So I got with me an acclaimed author, public speaker, all-around cool person, and an introvert as well. So Jacqueline Charles is here. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. So now, as I always say, let's get the elevator pitch, and then we're going to get into the good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Jacqueline Chalice, the excitable introvert, and I work with introverted women of color to get seen, heard, and respected by embracing their awesome.
And I always start people, let's start off with the credentials. Like you said, people paid for them. You know, you're an author. You've been in the speaking game for a while or so.
Yes, for a very long time.
How long?
30 plus years.
Okay. And how old were you when you first started with public speaking?
With public speaking, single digits. I started a lot earlier than most people.
Most people, yes. Okay. So what exactly is the excitable introvert?
Well, that is a moniker that I gave myself and I used to describe myself because although I'm an introvert, anyone who knows me knows how excited I am, how enthusiastic I am. And for some reason, people think introverts are not joyous. They don't smile. And so I always claim that for myself. It's only been more recently that I began to use that as really a branding technique so that people understand the work that I do and can understand that I'm not an anomaly. There are thousands of introverts who are excitable, who are joyous, and are introverted simultaneously.
That is true, and that's me.
Yes.
So it really makes it easier when you fall into or find something that works for you. That it's easier that you can turn, I'm not going to say turn the switch on, but it's sort of like that. But when it's over, to recharge the battery, as you would say, that's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert.
Right. Introversion and extroversion is simply a descriptor of how someone processes stimulation. So you can have extroverts who are antisocial. Lizzo is an extrovert who's antisocial. You can have extroverts who are shy. You can have introverts who have no problem with interacting with people. They just choose not to because of the energy that it takes. So we introverts, we notice everything. It's hard to get things past us. We might not speak on it, but we notice it all. And so we need that time away in order to process our world. And once we contribute, it's worth hearing, it's worth experiencing.
So you are an acclaimed author of a number of books. How many books?
25, 26.
25, 26.
She's losing count.
I'm losing count.
Exactly.
My very first book was published when I was 11. So when I lose count, it's because I started early.
That's awesome.
That is true. So what was the first book that you wrote?
The very first book that I published was while I was 11. I was in a young writers group. My parents recognized this enthusiasm I had for writing. That was my aspiration in kindergarten, to be a New York Times bestselling author. And so in order to support that, they found a young writers guild. And the outcome of that was for us to publish this anthology. It was myself and about a handful or so more young adults. We had a business tour, we had a book tour and book signing, and we got to do all of these things early. And that opened up opportunities that later began to feed all this other great stuff that I now do in adulthood. So small thing for parents, nurture your kids' passions, and you never know what they'll be in adulthood.
So you are on a book tour now.
Yes.
Is that a book? Is what you're? It doesn't seem like a book tour. It seems like a life tour.
It's a life tour, I think, is a better way to phrase it. My husband and my son and I, we are on our latest iteration of our cross-country trip. We're New York based. We're in Richmond, of course, now. We'll be going all the way out to Wyoming before we start heading back. We'll hit 7, 8 states on our next 2.5 months that we'll be on the road. We are travelers. We love it. It's been one of the blessings of the pandemic, being able to have us all online, so we can go anywhere and do these things.
And so we've talked about it, opening the world to your son, showing him other places that people read about in books. And also, we also talked about the gift of what this is, because it's not normal.
No, this is not the average experience. It's great to have the resources and the possibility and really the privilege to travel around this country and to go to other countries. One of the highlights for me was, as a child, I always wanted to travel the world, and going to Australia was on my bucket list. I got to be paid to go to Australia, bring my husband, bring my son. We got to go to the Taj Mahal. I got to do that by leaning into my introversion and stepping into that vision that God gave me of who I was. So doing all of this, it's beautiful when all of this comes together. It's breathtaking, and I do not lose sight of the fact of the magnitude of joy and privilege that I have. So I need to be a good steward.
You are a good steward, and I learned something. So I asked you a question, and this is sort of my go-to question. You know, I get one good question, and I ask a person, how do you make dreams come true? And what did you tell me?
I told you that dreams are something that can go away. A vision is what you need. A vision will stick with you. It will activate you. A dream will inspire you, but how many dreams do you have you did nothing about? But if you had a vision for something, you're willing to put in the work toward it. You're willing to go through whatever it takes to get to it, however long it takes. And for me, my life started with that vision. Like, I knew I was going to be on stages speaking in front of thousands of people. I knew I would be a best-selling author. I knew I would be traveling the world. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Nobody travels in my family. How am I going to do that? Like,
You just know it.
I knew it. Like, I know the sky exists. Like, there's grass. Like, it's just, okay, well, if this is true, then what do I need to do to be that person? Well, I guess I need to be on stages. I guess I need to let people see my writing. I guess I need to say yes to these things I would normally say no to.
So when you started saying yes to those things, what was the first big moment that all of a sudden you realized, wow, this thing is kind of big?
That was like the pivotal moment. I was recruited to go to a different high school. I was recruited by this one lady, this little Southern white belle, who would see me at every debate competition and would harass me to come to her school because she saw that I could do great.
And what school was that?
This was Adamson. This was in Dallas, Texas. That's my hometown. And I believed her enough to say, okay, let's see. Let me see if I can convince my parents to sign the paperwork. That was my first big decision, to latch onto her faith in me. I knew no one. There was nothing there to bring me except for this idea that this woman who saw me like maybe once or twice a month had this much faith in what she saw as potential. So when I had that opportunity and I went to the school, it was a blank slate. That's when I decided, what if I was just this person? Like, if I have this complete blank check to do whatever. Okay, what if I'm supposed to be in front of stages, I'm going to do things. Let me audition to be the lead for the school play. I've never been in a school play. I'm an introvert. I want to be in the back. I'm not doing it. I said yes. I didn't get the lead, but I was one of the main characters that was there. That opened up the door for me to do other auditions, for me to do speaking competitions. Like, part of my college was paid through speaking competitions. Had I not accepted her invitation and latched onto her faith and what she saw in me, I wouldn't have even said yes to that.
Yeah, I want to echo something you said earlier too, because you said you lean into that. You have that vision and you lean into it, and I think that was the fearlessness that you decided to have. You made an active decision to start a process of living out that vision when the opportunity presented to you. So you took a fearless approach towards that, regardless of what you introverted, extroverted. You saw that vision and then pushed into it, like you said earlier. That's great.
And the name of your program is, Jerry?
Oh, Intrepid Impact
And see,
Leadership.
that's why he was, that's
ESPN Richmond Radio,
and that was an
106.1,
Intrepid
6:30
Impact.
Monday morning.
Okay, so Jacqueline, let's talk about the program that you have for women. Let's
Yes.
dive into that and explain that to our listeners.
Yes, when Jordan was speaking, I was trying not to make so much noise in the back, like shouting and cheering, because one of the events that I host every year is a virtual summit called Mistress of Her Divinity. And I started this because I didn't see a space where the intersection of womanhood, of race and cultural identity, and using your work as an expression of your faith came together. I didn't see it. I couldn't find it. I found lots of spaces where we were told to take one of those things out of the equation. But how can you? I'm a Black woman who's Christian. How do I take out one of those? All of those are me. And so I started this event back in 2019. I had women from 5 different countries who came to not only listen in, I had speakers from around the world. This was done clearly on faith. It's like, okay, well, this needs to happen. Okay, God, who's going to do it? And it was crickets. Like, oh, you're looking at me, God? I think you got the wrong number. But about 8 weeks from the idea being in my mind, it was live. And I had one of the speakers, one of the things on her bucket list was to be an international speaker. She wanted to speak on stages. She got to be in front of people in India, in Nigeria, in Canada, in Mexico, in the UK. Like, she got to be on this global stage unawares. I made this woman's dream come true because I leaned into, I'm an introvert, but I know that there are certain things I'm meant to do.
That is true. On the mic with Mike here. Minister Tiger, really quickly. I know we're short of time because up next is Steph B with the Hustler Side. Talk about the idea when you thought about putting a radio station in a church.
Well, it's a blessing that came across to me when I was actually working for another radio station. But I noticed some of the smoke and mirrors and some of the limitations of musical artists in our area being able to get to radio, for ministries being able to get to radio. And I wanted something really, and even in our own experience with recording things, I wanted something to be user friendly, something that there was no gatekeepers. When people came in, they felt like they were at home too. And that was the seed that was sowed back in 2010. It wasn't until 2013 that I had the opportunity to actually put all the paperwork together to get the FCC to take a look at our board of directors and everything and go through the approval process. Still took another 4 years for us to get the license to build this thing within 60 days. So we went through a 7-year process and had 8 weeks to go from, getting a yes to having it up and running.
Gotcha.
But it was a blessing. And I do want to say something you said, Sister Jacqueline, about saying yes to things. I'm actually going through a process at the beginning of the year, and I preached about this. This is going to be my year of yes. That no matter what God asks of me, I'm going to say yes and see how the doors unfold. So even at 50 plus years on this planet, there's a lot of things that I said no to. And it was funny because Jerry mentioned something about your father going through things, maybe not taking part of certain businesses.
That's right.
And how he explained that to you. But I'm going through a process where I want to do what God asked of me while I have time to do it. I don't want to get to the point where I should have, would have, could have my way out of this world. I'm going through a year of yes. So when you said yes to that Southern Belle, look how that changed your life. So go through.
And you saying yes to this created the space for me to be on the radio
right.
now
Mhm.
and get bragging rights with my kids.
There we go.
It's like, Mom, Mom been on radio. All right, so we got to go. This is all nice. It's all fun and games. My time is up. So this is my King Biz Radio.
God's word, yes,
Exactly.
amen.
Because up next is Steph B, the Brooklyn Betty with the business breakdown. She has 16 bars of business. She gives it to you like no one else does. It's where business and culture collide. Jacqueline, very quickly, how can people find you?
Go to IEmbraceAwesome.com, IEmbraceAwesome.com, IEmbraceAwesome.com.
I want to be like her. It's just like, I am an excitable introvert. I am. This is kind of taking off and taking on some things. I got to run because I don't want to be in trouble. Mike King, we got to run. Give the choice, WQCN 105.3. Like to thank you for tuning in. This is the best. We always have a blast here. Thank you for the Foot family for opening the keys to the kingdom. It's always great when I come in. We got to run. Jerry, Jordan, we'd like to thank them for coming in. Steph B is up next. Take care.